Haitian organizations are demanding compensation for thousands of victims of cholera. This Sunday, South Africa registers over 679,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and over 16,000 deaths. Armenian and Azerbaijani forces exchanged rocket fire as fighting intensified over Nagorno-Karabakh region. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Laura Palmeiro. Haitian organizations are demanding compensation for thousands of victims of cholera and an end to impunity 10 years after the United Nations introduced the deadly disease into the country. As the United Nations celebrates its 75th anniversary, a campaign is seeking to round up 100,000 signatures to request reparations for at least 10,000 Haitians killed by cholera. The UN has been accused of committing crimes in Haiti during the period following the 2019 earthquake, but violations had begun years before. UN peacekeepers fathered and abandoned at least hundreds of children in 2006, and it was revealed that 108 peacekeepers ran a sex ring with local women, many of whom were minors at that time. This Sunday, the Cuban Ministry of Public Health reported 29 new cases of COVID-19 and a total of 7,538 PCR tests were carried out for their detection. In the daily broadcast press briefing, the National Director of Epidemiology, Francisco Duran, reported that of 29 confirmed with the virus, 28 are Cuban citizens and one recently arrived foreigner. During his explanation, Duran also announced that there is one patient in critical condition and 5 serious, while no person died in the last 24 hours due to the disease, which brings the list of deaths to 122, and the fatality in Cuba is of 2.1%. The tourist resort of Varadero will be ready as of October 15 to receive international tourists and their operations that are requested to travel to that destination, according to Cuban Ministry of Tourism. The initial stage foresees its partial opening, in which clients will be able to enjoy accommodation in 4- and 5-star hotels, engage in maritime excursions, nature tours, and other activities within an approved zone. This phase includes extra hotel activities associated with the marinas, gastronomic, commercial, and recreation services, as well as the dolphinarium. As hygiene measures to avoid the transmission of COVID-19, it was established in the protocols that all services will be paid by customers with the use of their credit cards to avoid the usage of cash. This Sunday, the urgent need to reactivate tourism prompts several Caribbean states to lift restrictions on entering the country imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, although with some conditions. The governments of Belize, Guyana, and St. Kitts and Nevis have just announced the reopening of their borders to commercial flights in order to revive the most important economic source. The first of them did so on October 1st, while the others will do so on October 12 and 31, respectively. According to the website Viajes por el Caribe, Belize implemented a program of recognition of the gold standard for tourism and corridor aimed at guaranteeing the health and safety of travelers and residents. Belizean authorities clarified that the creation of corridor is a temporary measure to minimize the interaction between tourists and local community as a way to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The demobilized Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia's People's Army has recognized its responsibility in the 6 killings in fulfillment of its obligations under the 2016 Colombian Peace Accords. The Special Jurisdiction for Peace informed that the Truth and Responsibility Acknowledgement Chamber received a letter on behalf of the former FARC-EP Secretariat following a meeting held on September 25, offering truth and clarification of the events that occurred in assuming responsibility in 6 cases. The most high-profile killing was that of right-wing politician and 3-time candidate for the presidency Álvaro Gómez Hurtado in 1995. With this historic step taken by the former FARC guerrilla, including current members of the FARC party, there remain questions as to whether information on the crimes committed by other actors of the conflict will surface amid the predecessor, or if the truth will remain hidden. The Progressive Binomial Union for Hope, formed by Andrés Araúz and Carlos Rabascal, announced that their participation in Ecuador's electoral process is now official after registering before the National Electoral Council. The candidate for President Andrés Araúz published the image of the event and pointed out that it is already official. One more step in the path to recover the homeland, the dignity of the people, and the rights of all. On September, the CNE rejected the first binomial proposed by leftist political movement formed by Andrés Araúz and former President Rafael Correa. The chosen replacement for Correa was Carlos Rabascal, in agreement with the Alliance for Democratic Center and for Social Commitment. More than 20 Chilean senators will not approve the 2021 budget for the state police, called locally Carabineros, until certain changes are made at the restructuring of that peace institution. Such decision is due to the events that occurred on Friday, where a 16-year-old teenager was seriously injured as he fell into the Mapocho River from a bridge pushed by a member of the police, which multiplied popular protests in this capital. In a statement, legislators from various opposition parties described these events as irresponsible and criminal acts by Carabineros and consider essential that the Interior Ministry and the State Police institution establish and commit to clear and consistent sanctions for such behavior. They also demanded to commit to a structural reform of the institution and pointed out that the country will not understand that the Senate approves the 2021 Carabineros budget. And we continue in Chile, where the final stretch to the constitutional plebiscite on October 25th began with police violence against demonstrators in Santiago. More than 14 million voters will decide this month if they want to replace the constitution that dates back to the dictatorship ruled by Augusto Pinochet. Let's find out in the following report what is behind the approval and rejection options, which keeps the southern country on edge.
A policeman pushed a teenager who was left unconscious in the Mapocho River. It is the first October demonstration in Dignidad Plaza in Santiago. These armored vehicles show the scene of the plebiscite of October 25th in a state of emergency and with a curfew.
There is absolute discrimination here because this is political. I am very ashamed that this government has politicized the police force in this manner, because what they have done is politicize and turn the carabineros against the people.
A political agreement negotiated in secret ended the main demand of the popular revolt that started a year ago, a constituent assembly. There are those who see all this as a trap to keep the current system in place.
We consider that the agreement, this backroom deal made illegally, without counting with the participation of this great popular movement, what it comes to do is to prevent the people from expressing themselves as they had been doing until November 15. This is a process in dispute, and this process in dispute has to be seen as and in favor of whom it is resolved. This largely depends on the levels of participation that citizens want to have. This is not the process that we would have wanted, but it is the best process that we have today, and we must occupy all the spaces.
Sonó una nueva constitución y yo elijo seguro.
In Chile, voting is voluntary. more than 14 million voters have the right to participate in the plebiscite.
We have gathered experience from all elections carried out during the pandemic, in all continents. We drew the best from them and established security protocols that allow us to convey calm and tranquility to citizens in order to make a plebiscite as inclusive as possible due to its historical relevance.
Fascism openly reappeared in the dispute.
Why should we be ashamed of this military government that did so much good to Chile? Why do they want to destroy it and erase it from the new political constitution? Each vote for the Constituent Convention strengthens the Marxist, Chavista and tyrannical tsunami.
As in all social history, this is a struggle between two antagonist cultures, the one that defends privilege and calls for blood, and the other, perhaps naive, that has no other defense than its own bodies in the streets. Alejandro Kirk, TeleSUR, Santiago de Chile.
And we'll take a very short break now, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. South Africa this Sunday registered over 679,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19, while the number of deaths from the pandemic is 16,938. According to the country's health minister, Zwelini Makitse, 50,000 active cases of the disease are currently being treated, both in hospitals and in home confinement. Meanwhile, the number of recoveries now stands at 612,000, which represents a high cure rate of 90%, which has been stable for weeks in the country. On the other hand, since the day before, 29 more deaths related to COVID-19 were reported. This Sunday, Muslims walked around the Kaaba, Islam's holiest shrine, along socially distanced paths as Saudi authorities partially resumed the year-round Umrah pilgrimage with extensive health precautions adopted after a 7-month coronavirus hiatus. Thousands of worshippers entered the Grand Mosque in the holy city of Mecca in small groups to perform the ritual of circling the sacred Kaaba, a cubic structure towards which Muslims around the world pray. The Umrah, the pilgrimage that can be undertaken at any time, usually attracts millions of Muslims from across the globe each year, but it was suspended in March due to the coronavirus pandemic. It will be revived in 3 phases, with Saudi Hajj Minister Mohammed Benton saying last week that 6,000 pilgrims per day will be allowed to perform the Umrah. On Sunday, the government of India said to be planning to immunize the last 250 million of its 1.4 billion people by July 2021. Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan said the government will ensure equitable distribution of the vaccine, and it is in process of identifying the high-risk groups that will be in the first line, including healthcare workers. India is testing 3 potential vaccines. The vaccines will be mass-produced by India's Serum Institute, the world's biggest vaccine producer. India has registered nearly 76,000 COVID-19 cases in the past 24 hours, a day after crossing 100,000 total fatalities. India has confirmed to date more than 6.5 million cases of infections.
Our rough estimate and target would be to receive and utilize 400 to 500 million doses, covering approximately 20 to 25 crore people by July 2021. Our government is working round the clock to ensure that there is a fair and equitable distribution of vaccines once they are ready.
The third and last ship, the Faxon of an Iranian flotilla, sailed on Sunday in Venezuelan waters to complete a fuel delivery to the South American nation, according to the tracking of the specialized site Refinitiv Acon. Previously, the Force and Fortune ships made the same journey to Venezuelan docks. The trio of tankers carried a total of over 800,000 barrels of fuel, although the faction carries 134,000. Iran-Venezuela relations date back 70 years, but now they took on special brilliance with their opposition to the hostile policy of Washington that tries to overthrow the governments of Caracas and Tehran. The arrival of the Iranian ships is part of an agreement sealed between Iran and Venezuela in the sectors of commercial, energy, industrial, defensive, cultural, and educational cooperation. And we'll take a final short break now, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Armenia and Azerbaijani forces exchanged rocket fire as fighting intensified over Nagorno-Karabakh on Sunday, with the region's capital and Azerbaijan's second largest city bombed. Armenia said that Nagorno-Karabakh's main city, Stepnakert, which has been under artillery fire since Friday, was hit again on Sunday. Azerbaijan's defense ministry said Gangha, a city of more than 330,000 in western Azerbaijan, was also under fire, while Armenian-backed separatist forces claim to have destroyed an airbase there. The two sides accused each other of targeting civilian areas as the conflict appeared to be widening a week after heavy fighting broke out in the decades-old dispute over the ethnic Armenian region. Armenia and Azerbaijan have resisted international calls for a ceasefire, and clashes have intensified in recent days, with both sides claiming victories on the front and saying they are inflicting heavy losses to the other. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's handling of the coronavirus has caused a drop in support of his party, according to an opinion poll revealing that UK's main opposition party has moved ahead for the first time, according to analysis. Chris Hopkins, Deputy Director of the market research consultancy Savanta Compras, offered his reaction after an opinion poll for the Observer's newspaper last Sunday showed Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer holds a 4-point lead over Johnson when he asked who he would make the best Prime Minister. In a double blow for Johnson, the Labour Party has also gained a 3-point lead over the Conservatives, who currently have an 80-seat majority in the House of Commons after victory in the last December's general election. The polls puts Labour's support on 42%, the first time the party has been in the lead since July 2019, when the Prime Minister Theresa May left Downing Street. Johnson's Conservative Party held 39% support, according to the same poll.
I'm not sure at the moment. I think the Conservative Party are naturally cutthroat often with their leaders, and ones that they don't like don't tend to hang around too long. But I think there is an appreciation that this is these are very unforeseen circumstances, both in terms of the policies that he's having to put forward, but also how he delivers them, and the fact that things just aren't normal. So and he's doing an okay enough job, I think, for the time being. I think where they're struggling with the electorate is perhaps down to the fact that some of the messaging perhaps isn't clear, and it isn't always seen as fair, in the sense that some people can meet up in the pub, but they can't necessarily go into their grandparents' house to see them. And I think it's that mixed messaging sometimes that I think gives a sense of unfairness, and where everything was very equal early on, across the in the pandemic, everyone very much understood what they were and weren't allowed to do, and I think that has slowly ebbed away, and I think that's definitely contributed to Boris's sort of suffering in the polls and his own personal ratings.
This Sunday, October 4th, we are celebrating the 103rd anniversary of Violeta Parra's birth, a very well-known Chilean composer, folk singer, and social activist. Let's have more details about her life.
Violeta del Carmen Parra Sandoval was born in October 4, 1917 in Chile. She's well known as a composer, folk singer and social activist, and one of the founders of Nueva Canción movement. Her best-known song, Gracias a la Vida, Thanks to Life, it is a praised piece all around the world. She started writing songs at an early age, initially performing at bars and small ballrooms. Her exposure to that music served as her inspiration for Nueva Canción, and her work began to show the growing concern for social conditions. Embracing a broad spectrum of musical styles, Nueva Canción stood as an emblem of the socially, economically, and politically marginalized peoples of Latin America and their struggle for social justice. Parra's music and art often served as a critique of the wealthy landowning elite of Chilean society, as well as of the church and the military, all of whom she held responsible for the social and economic plight of Chile's disenfranchised poor. In 1957, Violeta met with folk singer Victor Jara and inspired the young artists to join the movement. Both artists strongly supported Salvador Allende's early bid for the Chilean presidency, and Parra maintained ties with members of Chile's socialist and communist parties. She committed suicide at age 49.
And with Violeta's Gracias a la Vida famous song, we finish this news brief. Remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Laura Palmeiro. Thank you for watching.
Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me dio dos luceros que cuando los abro perfecto distingo lo negro del blanco, y en el alto cielo su fondo estrellado, en las multitudes el hombre que yo amo. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el oído que en todo su ancho graba noche y día, grillos y canarios, martillos, turbinas, ladridos, chubasco, y la voz tan tierna de mi bien amado. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado el sonido y el abecedario, con él las palabras que pienso y declaro, padre, amigo, hermano y luz alumbrando la ruta del alma del que estoy amando.